Hi, now we will discuss the value keyword, which is a newcomer in SAP ABAP. So I'll discuss some of the variants of this keyword and how this works. So let's start. So here you can see that I have defined a structure, and with the same structure I'm creating a table type. So this table type contains two fields, field 1 and field 2. And now we are using this value keyword along with the help of this table type, and we are assigning values to field 1 and field 2. So this basically creates an internal table with two rows. So first row will have value 1 and 2, and second row will have value 4 and 3. At the same time, you can also notice that I have not declared LT values, and this is being created on the fly by inline declaration. I could have done that. I could have written a data statement here in which I could use the type of LT value and create an internal table out of that. And at the end, I am taking a loop on this internal table and I'm printing the value. Let's execute it and let's see the outcome. And this is as we expected. The first row contain 1 and 2, and second row contain 4 and 3. Now let's go to the variant 2. There will be a small variation from the current code. I'll just uncomment it on a small pretty printer and activate it. So here you see that this is almost the same syntax. I'm creating a type with field 1, field 2. I'm creating a table type, and I'm trying to create an internal table out of it using value keyword. But yeah, what you will notice that I have used additional brackets here, which were not there in earlier case. So in this case, what ABAP does that it for every bracket it creates an individual line. Let me quickly execute it for you, and the output will make this thing clear. So here you see that instead of two lines, it created four lines. 1, 0, 0, 2, 4, 0, 0, 3. So one line for each bracket. We'll discuss this further in our subsequent examples. One small tip, the table type used here is sometimes uh, understood in a wrong way by the new users of this syntax. This is a table type, and people often mistake by creating a uh, internal table and use it here. This has to be a table type always, and this will work. Okay, let me go to the next variant. The next example is about the value chaining. Let me quickly uncomment it. And you can notice a new syntax here. You can see that instead of using table type, I am using a hash here. So hash is a special case when the data type of the internal structure is predefined and it is fixed. In that case only hash can be used. In that case you can see that we are using range. So in that case it is predefined. In earlier case we were using a custom data type with field 1 and field 2. So that is not a predefined data type. In this case it is fixed and hash can be used. So here what we are doing that as you know that in range there are four properties: sign, option, low, high. So what we are doing here that always notice the brackets in with this syntax. So in this case we are filling up the sign field, option field and low field twice, and in the end I'll try to print everything: sign, option, low and high. So before we execute, just make a guess how many lines it should print. Okay, now I'm going to execute it. You can pause the video if you want to think more. Let me execute. And you can see that it prints two lines. So I and equal to are coming for both the rows. As you can see here that in code it is written only once, but it is coming twice and in each of the row. That's because of bracketing scheme, the way it is arranged. So I suggest that you plan your code according to what you want to achieve using this new construct. Let me quickly go to the another variant of this value chaining. Let me quickly uncomment it and let me go to the next variant and activate it. So here you see that I'm again using the hash instead of table type, and I am using sign option twice. So this is the earlier case and it should effectively create two rows. And then we have another case. So here you see that two brackets, one first bracket and second bracket. That's why it will create two rows. Now in when we move ahead, we see that with the sign I and option between, there is only one bracket here. This is effectively one bracket and this is two bracket. So this will create one row only. So now again, I suggest you to think what should be the output, and you can pause the video if you like. Okay, let me execute it now for you. So here you see the two lines as the last example and the one line for between option variant. This constructs can save you a lot of time. An earlier way to do it was create uh, individual work areas and then append it to the internal table, which was cumbersome and was obviously time taking. And this can save you a lot of time if you use it effectively. One more point here that this syntax not just fills the internal table, but with the help of inline declaration, we can create the internal table on the fly also, which we have already discussed in earlier example. For example, for example, here LT value is created on the fly, which is an inline declaration, and that internal table is being filled up also at the runtime. So this saves a lot of effort. So now let me go to the another variant of it, and which is actually very conceptual when we discuss the value keyword. Let me comment it, and let's go to the next and last variant of it. Let me uncomment it for you. And maybe a small pretty printer. Align it. Yeah, so in this case, what you can notice that I'm creating a table type, and after that I'm creating a variable to be printed, and then I'm creating an internal table. So just to see, this will create first, this is first row, this will create the second row, and this will create the third row of the internal table. So this internal table LT values will have three rows with value 1 and 5. 1 and the field 2 is nothing in there, so it will be 0, and the third row value 2 and 7 should be there. So the next construct is we are looping 5 times using do and do construct, and and we are trying to read this uh, as you know that we use sign index inside do and do loop. So what we are trying to do here is on every loop we are using the index of LT value in that iteration. For example, in first iteration of do and do, the first row of the LT values will be red. And then the second iteration, the second row, that is field 1 and 0 will be red. And the third iteration, 2 and 7 will be red. But it will go two more times in iteration. That will be iteration number 4 and 5. So in that case, this default statement comes into picture. So it is safe and good practice to define a default variant of value syntax when we don't know if something unexpected out of bound comes into picture. So default value -1 will be effective in the case of fourth and fifth iteration. Let me quickly execute it and this would be more clear to you. And you can see that value 5 is 0 is there, 7 is there, and -1 which is the default case. And we are printing only the second field.